Hi, everybody. Today, I'm really excited because we are here with Erin Williams, who's the founder of clean beauty brand, Erin's Faces. Now, to give you a little bit of information about Erin, for over 20 years, Erin has worked alongside some of the top makeup artists and skincare experts. This has led to taking that experience and knowledge and creating Erin's Faces. And from that moment on, Erin has focused on empowering and educating and being inclusive. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm excited to get to talk to you.
I actually have so many questions because
Okay.
clean beauty has been a buzzword for a long time.
Yeah.
I see that actually was reading about how your brand started where it was cleaner than most, but it wasn't really a thing then.
Yeah.
And that you had educated yourself to really transform your business to something that was a focus on clean. But what does that mean?
What does it mean?
What do you mean?
I think that's a really good question. And I think the challenge is there's not really a consistent answer.
Okay.
Right? Like in my experience, everybody's line in the sand is different for what ingredients they think are acceptable or not acceptable. And so that's the challenge with it, is it's not one thing. I can tell you what it is for me. For me, it's a brand that doesn't use synthetic fragrance, a brand that doesn't use parabens, sulfates, dyes in their skincare, things like that. I can get into a whole list of things: mineral oil, petroleum, petrolatum. Those are ingredients that, to me, if you have them, I wouldn't call you a clean brand. I don't think that means you're a dirty brand. But I just think where the definition of clean is going, that's an aspect of it. I think I feel like clean does imply dirty. And so I really do feel like the concept of conscious beauty, I really like that because it's thoughtful. And I also eat Cheetos sometimes. So I feel like there's like an 80-20 rule in our lives,
Fair enough.
where like you're doing really well and you're eating organic apples and you're like all the things. And then you're like, I really need some Cheetos, like right now. And, I think that's life. And I think if you really try to if you're someone that can handle doing super duper squeaky clean all the time, good for you. But I think giving ourselves the ability to make choices based on what feels appropriate for us is important. The other thing I really think defines clean beauty is sustainability. And that's in your ingredient decks, ingredient lists, which we call decks in the beauty industry. Yeah. And how that, not just how it affects us, but like how it affects the earth once you wash it down the drain. How is it affecting, the water and the fish and all of that? And then your packaging too. That's something that I've really started to really focus on in the last few years. How much plastic are we using and all of that? So all of those things I think kind of help form what I would call clean, conscious beauty. And there are a couple of, I would not call them Bibles, but
I was going to say,
things.
how do you navigate through all that? Because I find that's one of the interesting things anytime that you're trying to get information, whether it be about health and wellness, whether it be about what you're putting in your body, on your body. How do you navigate what's true and what's not, what's real and what's not?
I think it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I think
what sources do you rely on?
Yeah. So there's two that I always recommend to our clients. There's an app called Think Dirty, which is a clean app. I'm sorry, a free app. And it's a Canada-based app. And they basically rate how clean or quote unquote dirty a product is. Basically 0 is clean, 10 is dirty. So literally, if you're like at a Target and you're looking at like toilet bowl cleaners and there's 3 of them right there and you're like, okay, that's a 6, that's a 4, that's a 5, I'll get the 4. Like, I don't know, fine. But the thing is, they give you ingredients, they break it down by ingredients, they give you studies, they tell you why they've rated it that way. And then also EWG has a database called Skin Deep that's easier to access, I think, on a desktop than on your phone. Well, no, it's fine now. Now that we have like smartphones, their app I don't love, but their website is fine. And that will also rate how clean or dirty something is according to them. And that's the thing. They have their own parameters. Think Dirty has their own parameters, but I think they're a good kind of jumping off place for like, oh, because you can fall into like a study, a clinical study on whatever ingredient this is. And then you can decide, I really like the way that cherry blossom hand soap from such and such smells. I don't care, it's okay. Or if you're like, oh, I don't actually need that, and I can go have this lavender one with lavender oil from this other company, and I'm still totally happy. So like, okay. And I think it's making those swaps where I hate to say you don't care, but like, if your laundry detergent can be scented with essential oils versus synthetic fragrance, and you're still happy, okay, then maybe switch, stuff like that.
So when it comes to skincare and makeup and all that's involved in that, and you are going with clean, because we also find this as well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, science is great. Science comes up with all kinds of things, we're all about the science here, but I'm kind of curious about when you're using something that is from nature or something that is considered clean, about its efficacy, how well it works. Do you find that there's a little bit of a curve, or do you feel like some of them are outperforming even some of the more synthetic things?
I am a fan of safe synthetics, what is called in our industry safe synthetics. So like we use peptides in our product. And I think if you were like a nuts and berries only girl, you don't want to deal with peptides. I love peptides. So we use them in a couple of our products. I think
what do peptides do for your products?
So peptides are really good for collagen boosting. They minimize the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, and stuff like that. Like they're clinically proven. Like that's the thing. They're made in a lab, so they're clinically proven. And it's interesting, what I found when we started to work with them was they have a conventional peptide that's made with like a petroleum base, like a butylene glycol or something like that. And then they will have a clean one that's not clean one, quote unquote, that isn't. So we tend to go for that cleaner option, but it didn't grow on a tree. You know what I mean? So like, and we use it. So I think everybody's version of what is acceptable, again, is different. But I personally really love those things because they are backed by studies. They are clinically proven, and it's documented. Like you can see, not that they've clinically tested, like we carry a product called Tomany oil, and they've done clinical studies on that with like wound healing and antimicrobial stuff and like stretch marks, and it's crazy. And that all has documentation too. So I think some of those ingredients, like you were asking, can be as efficacious as the synthetic ones. It just depends on what you're looking for. It's a lot. And so I feel like finding people who will tell you the truth and be really transparent with you is really important. You were saying like, we didn't start as a clean brand. We absolutely didn't. My background was doing makeup for like lots of professional stuff, and clean was not on the docket. Like they needed something that was going to perform really well, that was going to hold up. And this was 10 years ago that I started my company. Sorry, my dog just came in, so you might hear little feet.
That's okay. We love the doggies.
He's here. But so I had no like awareness of like clean beauty. And then it just kind of, I started to shift with time. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's important to have someone that's going to be honest with you. And if someone comes to us from Think Dirty and they're like, oh my gosh, all your skincare is 0 to 3, you're super squeaky clean. I'm looking for foundation. I'll be like, hold up. Our foundation is probably like a 5. If Think Dirty was on, had rated our foundation. And I want to be really honest with you because we haven't reformulated it yet. And it's cleaner than conventional foundation, but it is not the same level of clean currently as our skincare is because we're independently owned. We were, in my house 2 years ago, working out of my house. So it all takes time and money, as you know, to come out with new products, and we just can't do a brand overhaul. So I try and be really honest with my clients and honest in our messaging. too.
It sounds just sensible in all honesty. And
Yeah.
especially when you start to realize that there is no true standard of what clean is. It is kind of open to interpretation.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I mean, to just be as honest as you can, I mean, hey, who can ask for more than that?
Yeah, I think that's the hope. I mean, there is a standard if you're USDA certified organic, like that
Okay.
has a standard. That has a very strong standard. And cruelty free has a strong standard, and you have to like prove a lot. Like with organic, you have to prove, you know, your ingredients and where they're farmed and how they're farmed with fertilizers and everything, and every chain that they go through. And then with cruelty, you guys are cruelty free.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, you know, all of that, you know, you've
Mm.
got to like talk about the animals in utero and like all this stuff, and you're not testing on them. So like, you know, all of that, those two things I think are like, there's a standard and there's rules. Everything else is just not, which is annoying because people will put something in a clean package and be like, naturally do, and you're like, oh great, it's clean, and then you look at the back and you're like, this isn't clean.
Well, I do find that there's also a disconnect on claims and what it actually does too. You know, I don't know how many standards are really out there. So it is really important to educate yourself on what you're actually buying into.
Right.
Which it sounds like you've been doing on your own. Goodness. I actually even want to like touch on your podcast, which is Beautiful Stories by Erin Faces. And the funny thing is I mean, this I love because it really is about empowering and educating and really accepting who we are and our own personal beauty and breaking those standards. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got that started?
Oh yeah. So I had written a blog post on my 42nd birthday. And it was, I think the title of it was something like, am I too big to run a beauty company? Meaning, am I too like curvy? And I wrote it because I was tired of apologizing for what I looked like. And for not being as thin as I used to be, and for feeling ashamed that I wasn't as thin as I used to be. And a lot of this was coming from me, but a lot of it was coming actually from family who I love and who I know love me. And so I wrote this post, and I had never had more feedback. And all the ways you get feedback. And it was all really positive, and women of all ages. You know, and that really resonated with me, like clients in their 70s and then teenagers. Sorry, Jasper's having a moment. And so, hey, not right now. I'm trying to be a professional person. Okay. And hold on, he's got a toy up here. Okay, there you go. Sorry, Danielle.
No, don't worry about it.
Okay, editors, so sorry. And so I got this awesome response. I was so grateful. And I was like, and one person, actually more than one person, said, this made me feel seen and heard. You telling your story made me feel seen and heard. And I was like, well, this is one story. And how many other stories from other people could make people feel seen and heard, and how wonderful would that be? And so that's when I was like, that's what I want to do on our podcast. And so we basically just tell stories about how women have struggled with a standard of beauty that they didn't feel like they were measuring up to, and how did they get past that, or how are they in the process of getting past it? And it involves everything you could think of.
It's such a,
sorry, dog toy.
that's okay. It's such a wide, I'm not even sure what the right word. It is such a phenomenon about the beauty standards and what we're expected to live up to, and not really having an understanding that in order to really bring out your true beauty is accepting yourself and who's inside. It's hard. It's hard. I have these conversations with my girlfriends all the time. Even for myself, it's not easy.
It's not. And it's so sad that I remember I had gone to a talk and Amy Porterfield was a speaker and she's a big like course creation person, branding person. And she said something along the lines of, I'm going to misquote her, but she said, I wonder what I could have done with all of the time that I have spent like basically shaming what I looked like for myself. Like, what could I have accomplished? And I was like, whoa, like it just resonated with me. And I was like, I don't want to do
I'm
this
already going to
anymore.
repeat this to a few people I know, right?
Yeah. It was so useful for me. Because I think we all just go, yeah. And every single woman I know, almost, we've had a couple on there that are like, I'm actually okay. And I'm like, talk about it. How are you okay? Teach us.
I know. Teach us your ways. Oh, great one.
Yes, oh, great guru. Yeah.
Because it is hard in the long run. I mean, and it's funny being in the beauty industry, such as yourself and myself as well. One of the things that we're always trying to do is to enhance different things and show how to do different things, makeup, hair,
right,
whatever. But in the same breath, you don't want to sit there and give the message that we're diminishing your beauty, because really, in all honesty, each and every one of us are. So, how do you communicate that authentically?
I feel very strongly about this. So the way I built Erin's Faces, my company, is I went around to basically people's living rooms and did what eventually became known as a green beauty workshop. And in the workshop, you've got women who never wear makeup and don't want to. And then you've got women who wear like 5 eyeshadows and like a lip liner, a lipstick, a gloss, a shimmer, highlighter, the whole thing. And the thing that I really want people to feel is the woman who wears mascara only if she's going out for an evening, like that's dressing up for her, is just as valid and just as beautiful as the woman who wants to do the whole thing. And I think if we can stop judging each other and be like, that makes you happy, that makes you feel confident, that makes you feel good, and then you can deliver your message, whatever it is. It could be taking the kids to carpool. It could be teaching a class. It could be being a lawyer. It could be being on Broadway. I think it can be any of those things, but I think whatever that is for us and whatever really truly makes us feel like our most enhanced, beautiful self should be enough. And what is that? And then how can we help you make that the best version of you that is? And that doesn't mean more makeup. It means, okay, you want a mascara only, let's do the best mascara you've ever seen and let's show you how to do it. So you feel really confident for those days that you're like, okay, I'm dressing it up and I'm going to do it,
Okay. Well, let's get on the subject of mascara then, because
okay,
again,
I like it.
we were talking earlier about how mascara is that one product.
Yeah.
In a woman's makeup bag, whether they are a person that does sunscreen and puts on mascara or they're doing the full face. Yeah. I'm kind of curious, like, how does one choose the best one? There are so many different brands out there. And the bottom line is you're looking for certain things, you're looking for obviously certain, I don't know. I don't know
if you're looking for ingredients. You want like just great lashes.
I just want great lashes, but in the same breath, I have thought of this. Like, I know the whole extension of the eyelashes where they have these little something in there that makes your eyelashes longer, which is like genius. But I also sit there and I wonder, what the heck is that? Like, what am I putting? Because years ago, there were some products that would fall into your eyes. It wasn't as sturdy and it was dangerous. So I'm kind of curious. I would love to get a little bit of a 411 of what are these things?
I mean, I can tell you what they were for me. So we took 9 years to develop our mascara formula. We were not working on it for 9 years, but like I would work on it every year and be like, nope. Because like you said, I came from a conventional makeup background. I was doing makeup on, red carpets and stuff, and it had to look good. It had to hold up under lights. I had a lot of clients that are on Broadway and they have to dance 8 shows a week and sweat and be really it has to look really good. And so my favorites were Lancome Hypnose, L'Oreal Voluminous, and Mally Roncal's volumizing mascara. And those are 3 amazing mascaras. And what I liked was they gave you volume and length. I don't like to mess around with like just length. Like I want them to be like fabulous. I also wanted it to be buildable because I knew my client likes a little softer, like a more like fluttery lash. And then I have some clients that are like, give it to me. So I needed something that would be, you know, right for the mom with 2 kids that's just trying to like get through. And then I have this other client who's like 18 things of makeup every morning. So not that the mom with 2 kids can't do that because she can, but I'm thinking of like my ladies in you know, Houston that I like go see. Not now, but so I think for me, I wanted something that was going to volumize, lengthen, and also treat. And I think that to me is the game changer for mascara. If you have a mascara that's going to treat your lashes like a lash serum, we spend so much money on lash serums.
So treating,
right?
like, I'm curious about this. Okay.
What does that mean?
So, well, yeah, because they're eyelashes. Don't eyelashes fall out after a while? And then you gotta like, you're gonna like,
They do.
What is the benefit of treating
your
them?
hair, Danielle.
Well, I know, but it's longer.
I know, it's true. It does have a longer lifespan.
I'm curious, like, what is the benefit of treating? What is the difference between eyelashes that have never been treated and getting a lot of mascara and one that is getting treated?
So basically for me, what the difference would be is a more hydrated lash, a more nourished lash, and then she's going to hang around longer. She's just going to be like, oh, I don't have to dry out and fall out and get replaced because I've just like.
So it'd be more pliable.
Yes, definitely more pliable. And I honestly would say they're going to be longer. I mean, that's not a claim. We're not making that claim because we haven't clinically tested it, just to be clear. But I think in general, with the concept of a more nourished lash, whether it's ours or someone else's, I think your lashes are going to have a better shot of sticking around a little bit longer because they're not so dry that your body's like, get out. We have to protect our eyes and you're old and we need to get rid of you. You know what I mean? Because that's the function of your eyelashes, not to like look pretty, but to protect your little eyes. So we use, I knew I wanted to use an ingredient that was I knew I wanted to use beta carotene because beta carotene, we have not run clinical tests because we're a little company and they cost a whole lot of money. So, but other people have run clinical tests on beta carotene and it's very effective with hair growth, hair support, stuff like that. And then I was also looking at matcha for something different. And I was like, and I found this clinical test about matcha where it talked about how the green tea, they were talking about green tea. They weren't talking about matcha specifically, but green tea basically fortifies hair, according to this clinical test that we linked on our page. You can read it. And it was a whole thing. And I was like, what? And so then I was like, well, what's the fanciest version of green tea? Matcha. And what's the fanciest version of matcha? So we partnered with Ensha, which is like an organic matcha. It's fancy, whatever. So it's like the coolest, most like hardcore kind. So it sounds like it's trendy. It sounds like it's also going to be green.
Well, I was going to say matcha is such it is an on-trend thing. I mean, I'll admit I have my matcha tea over at, my coffee place, wherever, but I do feel like when I heard it added to a mascara, I was like, what exactly? I still don't even know how matcha like benefits if I'm drinking it. So, I mean, the fact that you hear topical, it's helping with growth.
We can't say that, but there is a clinical study that, shows that it fortifies hair. That's the short story. Yeah, it's really cool. And so I was like, great. And I had this whole vision in my head for the packaging and like all that stuff. So like, I was like, we're doing it. And then, so that's like your long-term happy like thing. But I also, you were saying like, what do you want in a mascara? I personally want something that's going to give me a little length right now. So I wanted to use plant-based fibers that weren't going to drop into your eyes. I don't want to use a primer. I don't want to put something on and then put these fibers on and then
I'm too lazy.
Nobody has time. Nobody has time. And they start to look a little spidery sometimes for me because I bought all of those products because we didn't have mascara. So I was buying everybody else's stuff. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so we use plant-based fibers again, so that they will disintegrate in the water system. So it's not a plastic kind of a
Nice.
thing. Yeah. So, and then we housed it in a glass component. So, because
Glass.
yeah, it's really fun. I was talking with our packaging guy, and we figured out doing glass because you have to buy 4 mascaras every year. Every 3 months you have to replace your mascara, no matter who it's from,
Why?
because it's your eyes are wet and so's the mascara. So it's just a breeding ground in both regards, for bacteria, and
Interesting.
you can get stuff. So it's just, you just want to get rid of it. It's a lot of plastic. So,
Mm.
and most plastic places, if it's even the right kind of plastic that they'll recycle, it's too small and they won't do it. So so I was like, I see this white tube in my head. Like I'll show it to you because I have it right here. So it looks
And
like
that's
that. So,
glass.
and it's glass. And so what we did was we powder coated it, because I looked at the dyes and stuff where they dip dye them and they weren't opaque enough and they didn't have this like lovely feel. And a lot of the stuff that has the lovely feel is plastic. It's a plastic coating,
Right.
and you can't recycle glass and plastic together. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. So we powder coated it, because this is insane, but this is like what you have to kind of go through to like figure all this junk out.
She's like, follow me in Erin's brain.
That's literally what it is. So we powder coated it because the powder coat, they like heat glass when they're recycling it, and the powder coat melts off at a lower temperature than the glass is heated at for recycling. So that's how we did it.
Okay. So it is something
it's
that can be
really good.
recycled.
Yeah, and it can be recycled really easily, which I like. But I think I'm someone that wants length, volume. I want immediate benefits. I want long-term benefits, and I want separation. So your eyelashes are not like stuck together. Because that's the other thing I don't like about volumizing, is when they stick together.
So speaking as a makeup artist,
Yeah.
like for instance, I've always been lucky. I have decent
You have very good
eyelashes.
lashes.
They're curly. Not as curly as some of my nephews. I don't know how they are so damn lucky.
It's always the boys.
But I actually have a dear friend, and she has very straight, shorter lashes, and she can't get a curl for the life of her. So is there something that she should be looking for, or something
If
that she
she
should be
wants
doing?
to, I mean, has she ever done a heated lash curler?
Oh gosh, I don't think so.
They
I
make
don't think
them.
so. I never heard of that. There's
Yeah,
a many
she should
things
look
I
at
never
that.
heard of and people should know.
Yeah, it's a little thing, and it doesn't look like a normal lash curler that we're used to. It's a straight thing, and you just put it there, and it sounds like it's going to burn your eye off. So be careful, but it's got a little guard, and then you just kind of go like this, and it gives you a little whoop. You can also get a lash lift. That's done
Do
with
you find that
chemicals.
eyelash curlers really work? Not for something shorter like that.
Yes.
You think?
Absolutely. Yes, I used to work with under Mally Roncal, who is a fancy makeup artist, and she would have us, whenever we were doing people for TV, pump the lash curler 13 times. And so it's like in me to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's like 13 on each eye, and that junk works. And it's just like beep, and they're up. And if you have a
Now I feel like
with,
I want to do that just to see what would happen.
you totally should. It makes you look very awake. And if you're someone where that doesn't stick really well, this is another Mally trick. She would put waterproof mascara on first, because waterproof really holds it. And then she would put the normal stuff on top.
Wow.
She's really smart.
Wow.
Yeah, she's really good at lashes.
I just got some tips. Hey.
Yeah. Fun. So yeah.
That is really great. And do you find that like because also that was another thing, like if you've ever gotten mascara before, which most women have, the wands, they're all different shapes and sizes. I've seen ones that look like balls. I've seen ones that are long and straight or have a strange curve or whatever. And I'm trying to figure out exactly what is the benefit of each. And why is it that you want to look for certain ones?
I think it's super personal. I think,
but if you don't know what each one does, how do you know what's going to be personal for you?
I really like what's called like an hourglass or a peanut, and that's what we ended up doing. So it kind of goes like this. It's got a little bit of a waspy waist, right? And so for me, that bumps out the outer lashes and the
And
inner.
the inner corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
But without having to like maneuver a whole lot, you know what I mean? I used to work for brands that had really big, like Dior. I worked for Dior and they have Dior Show, and I didn't work for Benefit, but their Bad Gal has like a really big brush. People loved it. Dior Show was the #1 mascara in Sephora when I worked for them. So like it flew and it looked great. But for me, I got it all over my eyes. Like I just would, it was just too big for me. I wasn't good enough to use it well on myself. And so some people like the silicone brushes, the ones that are more bendy. That's the silicone brush. I personally like the old school. I was literally like Hypnos. I'm telling you, that's my favorite mascara. And they have the peanut shape. And the hourglass shape is a nicer way of saying
hourglass.
it. But
sounds
it's weird.
Very glamorous.
It sounds better than peanut. But we looked at another brush. They have like a shape that's called a football. So it's kind of like this. And some footballs are like normal, and then others have extra bristles. So they pick up a lot more product and they're a lot more glam. So even if you have the same shape, it's not necessarily going to deliver the same way because of the bristles in it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense actually.
So it's hard. You have to try them and see what you like. I mean, I think the curved ones are supposed to help you. I don't know. I think a lot of it's gimmicky, which is why I just, swish out on the sides. I think a lot of it's gimmicky. I remember when I think it was Givenchy that launched the ball first, because I was working.
I remember that, and I didn't understand it.
I didn't understand it either. And the girls were so nice that worked for them, because I was a trainer for a different line. And I was like, walk me through it. And they were like, okay. And they were so nice and it was so fun. And I was like, I don't get it. But I think people love it, So I think but I think basically you're just trying to get black stuff on your eyelashes. Like what's going to get you there? I mean, that's what it is.
I think I think there was some good stuff in there. Cause like I said, I learned a few new things. This is good. I mean, like I said, when it comes to eye makeup, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, like with mascara, it's to open up the eye, which is really great. And I do know I sometimes will put a little eyeliner to make it look a little thicker as well.
Yeah.
But it does help to kind of make you look a little bit more awake.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's it.
Well, I had so much fun in this conversation. I feel like I learned some stuff. I learned about clean beauty. Nice. This is really great because it is kind of like this kind of fluid thing.
Nebulous. Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's nice to feel validated that I'm not crazy, that
I don't think you're crazy at all.
Yeah.
I really do think start with one product. If you are interested in that, like not you, but like whoever is listening,
right.
Like, start with one thing and do a dive on that and then see if you like it. And I think a criticism of clean beauty in the past has been it doesn't perform as well as the conventional stuff. And so it's a waste of money. And I think it was actually kind of true for a while.
I also think what you were saying as well is that how some products, some are more clean than others, or it depends on your standard. The truth is that, we live in a strange society, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's like you said, the Cheetos or the organic apple, sometimes you got to incorporate both into your life. And to have that permission, because a lot of times when you hear stuff like, oh, it's clean or, oh, it's organic, it's like an all or nothing kind of mentality, like you're all vegan or you're not, or you're all vegetarian or you're not, or, whatever it may be. And to feel like you can step into that without feeling like you have to completely get rid of your comforts.
Yeah. Well, that's what I don't like. I don't like when people like use fear, and I get it because they're not wrong on a lot of fronts, but using fear to sell a product just turns me off completely. Like if you make me feel like I'm killing myself, I'm killing my family. I don't have kids, but I'm killing my kids, then, okay, like there's another way to do this. So that's not really the tactic we take. We're always like, okay, this has unfortunate stuff. You can totally deep dive on it on Google. This doesn't. like this ingredient doesn't, like if
Mhm.
you're talking about like sunscreens, I mean, we can talk about sunscreens for an hour, but you know, there's stuff over here that isn't really great. There's no stuff that's not great over here. So let's talk about these ingredients and let's look for this. And even if you don't get ours, when you go to Target and you flip the bottle over, this is what you want to look for. Great. Okay, good. You know, and I'm about educating people and I want people to do what's right for them. And do it
And
because
that's
they
different
know.
versions for everybody.
Yep. It's absolutely different for everybody.
Well, thank you so
So
much, Erin, for
thank
coming
you,
on. It makes
Danielle.
me so happy to talk to you. And
So fun.
we will talk to you really soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.